I just have to pause here and I have to just take a deep breath, because I am super excited about what our call topic is tonight. I mean, heck, why would a chiropractor with the fourth largest chiropractic wellness center and host of an AM talk radio show decide to stop that and begin a business with LifeVantage? We are so excited to have our special guest, Dr. Dondee Nettles, on tonight. And yes, I know you're like, wait, isn't that your husband? Yes, he's my husband. And so that's another reason why I am so excited and so blessed for each and every one of you to get this information from him directly tonight, where we're going to be asking him several questions that you may or may not know yet the answers to. But what you're going to get tonight is you're going to get it all together in one beautiful package from this amazing guy, Dr. Dondee Nettles. Dondee, are you with us? Can you unmute and turn that camera on, please? Oh, there you are. Wonderful, wonderful. So
can you hear me okay?
Yep, can hear you great. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the share so that we can see you here in the presenter mode. So thank you so much. You know, you get asked so frequently to share your story and share why as a doctor this was so important to you and what really got your attention, that we decided after the last one that you did that it would be really great if we did this for our team and just kind of put it together as a training tool. So thank you for thinking that was a great idea with me, and being available to be able to be our special guest tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for the inspiration and the discussion, and sorry for the technical difficulties and our tardiness. We are very, very punctual in the time that we collaborate on this in different areas of our own house. We can't get the technical stuff ironed out, but thank you again, Marcia. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get started in this, because I would really like for you to be able to share with everyone that's watching this or that will watch it in the future a little bit about your background and your career, your experience before LifeVantage.
Absolutely. It's something that I don't get the chance to talk about as often as I would like, but it's incredibly passionate to me, and it's the full breadth of it would bore everybody. But the honest reality is that when I was going through high school and pursuing and looking at career dreams and what I wanted to do, I literally wanted to be an oceanographer. I wanted to be a marine biologist like Jacques Cousteau, who I watched on TV all the time. And then I realized as I was pursuing that it was more of a hobby and a desire than it was a way necessarily to provide for my family. So while that was my first major, and obviously you're not talking to me and we're not talking about oceanography or anything to do with marine biology, it wasn't, I changed my major 7 times. And chiropractic was the 7th. So I spent many, many, many years of full-time efforts in college trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to help people. I was just kind of struggling with the outcome of and the pathway in which to do that. So when I went to a chiropractor, it changed my life so rapidly, so dramatically that literally within 6 weeks I was enrolled in chiropractic college and became a chiropractor. But in that pursuit, it was interesting. I was studying. It was in my 3rd of 4 years of postgraduate work, or in graduate work in graduate school. I was in year 3 of 4, so a year left. And I was talking to a guy, and he asked me what I was doing, what was I in school for? I said, I'm going to be a doctor. And he goes, awesome. So what does a doctor actually do? I know they see patients, but what does a doctor actually do? And I was faced with this question that I know what lots of different types of doctors, and he goes, so what does the word actually mean? And I realized I had never looked up the word. I didn't know. I was a year away from being something that I truly didn't know the definition. And when I looked it up, it meant to teach. Docere in Latin, which is where the word doctor comes from, means to teach. And I realized that I had never been taught by any doctors that I had ever been to. They asked me questions and then gave me a slip of paper to go remedy those questions based on however I answered the question. So I realized I'm going to change that. I'm going to be an educator. I'm going to be a teacher. So I went out on this pursuit to educate people, and more importantly, to empower them to become self-sufficient in their health, which took me into my practice, where practice grew rapidly. Went on the AM radio. I was an AM talk radio host, but it was in pursuit of educating people and helping them be self-sufficient. That was really the key. And as during that journey, I became a father, and that literally changed everything for me. And this business gave me the ability to have that change everything for me. But that's kind of how I got here. Kind of a very unconventional way that most people become quote unquote network marketing professionals, but it's my story, and that's how I got here.
I love it. I love it. I love the part about you wanting to be a teacher, because you are such a phenomenal one. You
Well,
just, the
thank you.
way that you're able to break things down to such a simple level, I just have really grown to appreciate that so much. So you're full blown into your chiropractic practice and you're on the radio. So how did you get introduced to LifeVantage in the first place?
Another unconventional story. I was playing racquetball with one of my professional colleagues, who was a guy that referred patients to me. Dr. Brian Archambault was his name. He was a naturopathic medical doctor, and we were playing racquetball one day, and he beat me really badly. And as we're leaving the gym, and I'm in shame and with my head hung low, he threw a bottle of Protandem to me. And I wish I wasn't on camera. I wish I would have thought about this question. I would have grabbed the bottle of what they used to look like. And he said, "Hey, you're going to need this." With no explanation, just threw me a bottle. "Here, you're going to need this." So I was already embarrassed because he had beaten me so badly that I didn't even really remember the encounter until he asked me a couple weeks later, what did I think of that thing he gave me? And I said, kind of flippantly, "You mean the butt whipping? I didn't really like it all that much." And he goes, "No, that bottle of Protandim I gave you." And I didn't, well, the name obviously is not a recognizable name. I didn't know what he was talking about. And so discovered it was this supplement he gave me. So I began taking it. And a week later, ruptured the ACL, the anterior cruciate ligament in my right knee, playing football. Horrific injury that should have had surgery on it based on conventional methods. And I realized my body healed so incredibly fast from that. I mean, it still lacks. It didn't prevent me from having surgery. I just opted never to do that. But I couldn't believe how rapidly my knee healed. And as a result of that, I got 6 patients that I just thought, well, if it did that in my knee, what could it do for my patients? So I brought 6 patients in on the secret and asked them if they could help me vet this product out and determine whether I'm going to bring it into my practice or not. And I went down to GNC, bought a couple bottles, went down to High Health, bought a couple bottles because GNC didn't have 6 bottles. And I got some patients on it, started having great results, and got about 35 additional patients on it. For about 2 months into that journey, I got a call from this company called LifeVantage asking me to be part of their conversion out of retail into network marketing, which I have to tell you, I wasn't a fan of. I was intentionally not a part of network marketing, and not because I'd ever tried it and failed. I just didn't know anybody who had ever been successful, and I had a very strong bias. But while that was happening, I also had a patient and it was a very routine and very regular occurrence where a patient tried to bring me involved and tried to pitch me on network marketing. And he asked me, and he said, "Hey, doc, I got some great products I think will help your patients," which reeked of network marketing to me. And I said, "Let me guess, it's network marketing." He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Sorry, I'll save us both some time. I don't believe in network marketing." And he said, very, very calmly, he said, "Wow, that's a pretty ignorant statement from an educated man." And I thought, oh my gosh, this guy is clandestinely insulting me in my office. And he said, "Let me ask you a question. Has anyone ever told you they don't believe in chiropractic?" And I said, "Yeah, all the time, actually." And he says, "But I bet you that their disbelief doesn't change your belief one bit, does it?" And I said, "No," very pridefully. I said, "No." And he said, "It's because you're educated in something they are ignorant about." And I said, "Exactly." He said, "The same thing exists here. Would you mind if I educated you on something you are ignorant about?" And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy's talking to me this way. He was very, very professional, very respectful, but left me with no other option to say, well, of course, because if I said no, not only would I be ignorant, I'd be stupid,
Mm.
because I would be foolish in not listening to something that he just proved to me that I had done over and over and over again. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I listened to the guy's pitch. It wasn't the right company or product line for me, but it opened my eyes to network marketing. And I had just finished reading a book called The Cash Flow Quadrant
Mm.
from Robert Kiyosaki. He learned about B quadrant businesses. So this was just the sweet spot of everything coming together. And then when I found out what LifeVantage really was and what the product really did, and that I was already using the product they were wanting me to convert into network marketing, I had been using Protandem. That was the product. I didn't know who made it, but I was like, okay, so I don't have the bias of having to get over my disbelief about a product. I already love the product. It's this industry that I don't understand. And when that came together, it was just game on, as they say.
Wow. So you already had experience with the product, and you were like that typical person that you just didn't know what you didn't know. about
Yeah.
network marketing, right? And so was there anything else that you needed to see or to hear in order to say yes to the products here at LifeVantage?
There was. It had to, I mean, I had my experience with that product, but I was using that product as a retail product. And I didn't ever vet out retail products. I don't do research on products before I go down to GNC and buy them. It just has to meet the need that I have. And so this was a departure from that. It was something, if I'm going to get behind something in my practice, and now this company is leaving me no choice to go, then they're going into network marketing, I better understand the company and I better understand these products in a deep dive and why it's doing what it's doing. Because before that, I didn't care. As long as I only cared if they ran out. I hope GNC still has it because this stuff is awesome. But when I understood what it was, the scientific relevance of the difference between supplementing and activating, that's when I was like, wow, this is pretty significant. But what nobody knew at the time, because I was very good at hiding it, is that I was a new father. I had a 3-year-old son and a newborn daughter, and I wanted to spend time with them, and I didn't have any opportunity to. My practice and my radio show kept me out of the house 80 to 90 hours a week. And so the products were already golden, or there was only one product at the time, Protandim Nrf2, and I was already using it. And it was just a matter of understanding the relevance of the science, how that meant that, because now if I'm going to be not only sharing it with people, but recommending they understand it, I'm going to have to do a little bit more education than go buy this stuff at GNC, which is how I was doing it before. And that's where the science became of paramount importance and the uniqueness of the science. No other company does this kind of science or relevance as far as looking at pathways and putting in medical journals. That had never happened before in nutritional supplement world.
Oh, wow. So it was like the perfect storm coming together for you. I love that so much. I really love that, because if you wouldn't have said yes, so many of us wouldn't be here on this call right now, or even taking a look at this, right? So LifeVantage is actually positioned to be the leader in biohacking with nutrigenomics. Can you explain that a little bit? What is biohacking with nutrigenomics?
Yeah, well, biohacking as a whole, and biohacking with nutrigenomics is a very unique subset of biohacking as a whole, as a bigger picture. And biohacking is just simply taking an approach to either emphasize, magnify, or somehow bolster what the human body is already doing. And there's many, many people going in many, many different directions to that. But our unique space that is with nutrigenomics, and the key is in the genomics part of the word. Genomics means it influences DNA. It's dealing literally with our genomic code, or not just our genetics, our genomics, how our genes express themselves and how malleable they truly are. Using nutrition and natural compounds. That's kind of the meaning of the root of the word nutrigenomics. LifeVantage is the anomaly. We are the only person in this blue ocean of taking that approach, biohacking using nutrigenomics that are scientifically validated. No other company to date is really even taking on that venture.
Wow, that's amazing. Seriously, I love that we're all on this journey together and that we get to be pioneers in something that's really altering the way people will look at their wellness for like the future, not just years, but the future, right? So how do LifeVantage products help to biohack our bodies?
It comes from kind of a philosophy of, for me, it's really involving the oath that I took as a doctor. And first, do no harm. In other words, honor the human body, why it works and how it works. The second is do everything within my power as a doctor in that case, and now as a distributor in this case, is to help people understand the magnitude of what we truly have. And so with regard to why we're doing this, it's looking at the human body as a whole. How can we allow it to express itself at the highest rate of efficiency through all phases of life? And this is the key component of it, because from the moment we're conceived up until we're born, and then we're born up until our mid to late 20s, that's called the growth phase. It's phase 1 of life. Nothing typically dies in the growth phase under normal circumstances. And our products really don't even address the growth phase of life. These are anti-aging or wellness-based products because we don't really identify and understand that there's something going wrong in the human body, disease or decline or what, until we get into the second phase of life, which is the aging phase, which is the mid to late 20s until we take our last breath. So there's only 2 phases of human existence. It's in that aging phase where we really have the opportunity to intervene in many different capacities. And Nutrigenomics with groundbreaking products is amazing. But why? Is because we've identified pathways in the human body that are efficient from birth, but as we age, they lose efficiency. We've identified that pathway. We've identified how to influence that pathway, and we've given people permission to tap in to their body's own recuperative powers and vitalistic powers and bring that efficiency that we had when we were children in the growing phase back to the surface while we're in the aging phase, but the exact same pathway and the exact same efficiency. Nobody has ever taken that venture on until now. And with activators, and not only are we taking it on, we are giving people personal power to take that ability and bring it into our home and do it ourselves. So we are now DIY, do it yourself wellness people, giving people the ability to literally take control of their own DNA expression in their own home by implementing products that allow our bodies to do what they were designed to do. That's never been done before.
I love that. You mentioned anti-aging and DIY or DYI, right? DYI. And when it comes to how I look and I feel as I age, I love that there's the potential for me to have some say in that. So I know that there's 3 prominent reasons why we age, or 3 key areas to aging. The oxidative stress, Nrf2, mitochondria, Nrf1, and sirtuins, NAD. Can you explain those 3 reasons why we age?
Yeah, they're among doctors and scientists and researchers. They're called the theories of aging, and we have introduced them. Now I'm going to step into my role here at LifeVantage and step right back out just to describe what it is. So we've identified these products as the theory of aging is the most prominent. So when Nrf2, Protandim Nrf2 came out, it was in response to what doctors and scientists were talking about 20 years ago, and they're still talking about. But this theory of aging called the antioxidant theory of aging, the free radical theory of aging, the oxidative stress theory of aging, depending upon what side of the equation you were on. But it's the oxidative stress theory of aging, but more importantly, because of free radicals. So as that became a very strong topic, people started taking antioxidants and vitamins because it gives our body the ability to somehow lower that, which it does. But then it was discovered that you could find the pathway inside the human body that already has that formula figured out. It just loses efficiency as we age, and then tap into it with some natural ingredients. That's the Nrf2 pathway. Once we identified that, brought a product out, it was pretty amazing. Then we brought out other products in the same capacity. But then the subject kind of changed in the scientific world, the research world, to this mitochondrial discussion. And why that's so important, if you look at the original discovery of Nrf2, our formulator of that product, Dr. Joe McCord, won the Elliott Cresson Medal, which is for the biggest discovery in life sciences in 1989 for that discovery. So the product didn't come out until almost 20 years later, but it was to that discovery. And then when we came out with Protandim Nrf1 Synergizer to the second theory of aging, the Mitochondrial Decline theory of aging, literally that same year, Dr. Douglas Wallace was awarded the same equivalent of that medal for the discovery of maternal mitochondria. So it's when, and I'm getting chills thinking about this, when doctors and scientists and researchers start having a discussion, they start figuring out what to do, and then a company comes out with a natural product that does just that, it's powerful. That was our Protandim Nrf1 Synergizer. And most recently, last October, we released Protandim NAD Synergizer, dealing with the third most common, and to date, now in 2020, of those 3, NAD is by far the most popular among discussions among researchers and scientists, but all 3 of them deal with a specific pathway. So Nrf2 is reducing the oxidative stress, that load that the cells of our body are under. You give them less than anything. We may not understand oxidative stress, but all of us understand stress. And we understand the principle that something in less stress functions better than it does in more stress. The same thing exists from oxygen inside our bodies. That's the Nrf1 discovery. The other is the mitochondrial decline, or more specifically, energy deficit. As we age, we have less and less energy. It just stands to reason. But if we can get to the source of why we lack energy, and it's not because we haven't had coffee or soda or some other caffeine source, that's not why we have lack of energy. That's external energy. We're talking about internal energy. It's our cells' ability to produce the factories, the mitochondria, that make the fuel, ATP, which is the energy our cells produce. That process goes down over time as efficiency. We tap into it. And then NAD and this is why there's other ways of getting NAD, which people are talking about from fasting and all kinds of other things. It's what happens when NAD is turned on. This thing called autophagy, cleaning out the cellular debris so that all the moving parts work better. So it's kind of like if you have clutter, if you have a cluttered garage, it's hard to get from your door to where you need to go. If you take out all the clutter, you can get right to it. That's exactly what happens inside our cells. NAD facilitates that. So you take all three at the same time, and now you have a person who has cells that are in less stress, expressing themselves better. You have cells that have more energy to express themselves, and you have an internal environment where there's less debris for that to happen, and they express themselves optimally. You have the 1, 2, 3 punch we now call protandem trisynergizer. And it's literally, and this is not a scientific term, but it's freaking scientists out that we can do all three of those things at the same time. We're the only company that's even done one of them, let alone all three. And so that's just the power and the magnitude of what we truly have.
So taking them together, there's actually extra benefit?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you like a simplistic example. If you have a person, as opposed to an individual cell, you have a person wakes up hurting. They slept wrong, whatever, they've got chronic pain. They wake up and they're in pain. Then the first thing they do, they go downstairs and they open up a bill saying their power is going to get shut off because they haven't paid the electric bill in 3 months. Now you add on top of that emotional stress. And now they go to the cabinet and they would normally have a cup of coffee. They're out of coffee. So now you've got a person in pain, under emotional stress, and can't get the energy that they require. What if you gave him a cup of coffee? It's great, but he still has the emotional stress of not being able to pay his bills, and he still has the pain that he woke up with because of the chronic debilitating injury he had 20 years ago. Or what if you just took away his pain, but he still got the stress and he still needs coffee? So if you gave him a cup of coffee, you took away his pain, and you paid his electric bill. Now, all three of those areas that were causing him to be less of an expressive human being from a positive way, he's going to be a much happier person. And anybody would choose to have all three of those as opposed to, well, just give me a cup of coffee and I'll sit here with my pain and my stress. Or take one individually, he's beneficial. That's what any one of our products is beneficial. But all three at the same time, and when you're dealing with, now that's not a human being who has pain, stress, and needs energy. We're talking about cells that need energy, cells that need to communicate, and cells that are under stress. You put all three of those things remedied at the same time, it's like, it's insane. And it's not insane, it's amazing. It's insane to think about that it can be done and that it's actually being done right here. And the insane part about it is relatively nobody around the world knows about it. And it's that powerful that they should know about it. They just don't yet. That's really our responsibility.
Wow. Yeah. So synergy is a thing.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
It's a compounded thing. Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. So what would you say to people that are taking like a load of supplements already when they take a look at this?
I would first congratulate them because they're probably more knowledgeable about how their body works than the average person who doesn't take supplements, or who's living their life cavalierly and hoping nothing happens. I would ask them a question. I would congratulate them first and then ask them the question, do you know the difference between supplementation and activation, or your body's ability to absorb something versus your body's ability to activate something? And both of those questions, depending upon how you ask it, they're really not going to know the difference, which is a great opportunity to share a video or to share with somebody, or introduce them to somebody who can explain that clear fundamental difference. As something using like a light switch as an example. Most people understand what a dimmer is. Like when you just have the mood for a family dinner, you lower the dimmer in the living room or the dining room rather, or you just turn the light on when it's dark. So supplementing works like a dimmer switch. In other words, the more you take, the more you absorb, the better off you are. But this is the key, is absorbing something can be great, but when you reach your limit, you express out the rest. So if you've ever taken multivitamins and it changed the color of your urine, that's an example of that. Or if you've taken some kind of supplement, this is something I used to see as a chiropractor all the time, is I could tell the people that were taking multivitamins, tablet form multivitamins, and the ones that weren't, because they showed up in their x-rays. In their lower back, I could take a picture of a lower back and see all these little dots and circles. It's like those are the supplements you took yesterday that your body's about to get rid of. So if your body doesn't recognize something, it doesn't utilize it. That's called wisdom. And so if we can embrace something internally, turn it back on, then we negate the need for something from the outside. So while supplementing is wonderful, it's based on the idea that the benefit is in the bottle of whatever supplement that is. Not a bad theory, just not a complete theory. The reality is the benefit is inside. It's just whether we can turn it on or not, because the body doesn't need any help. It just needs no interference. And unfortunately, aging interferes with normal physiology. We just turn it back on with amazing science and amazing products.
Yes, we do. So what would you say to people that feel like they get everything that they need either from fasting or from the food that they eat in their diet, their regular diet?
Similar approach. Congratulate them on being proactive in their health. And fasting is a very, very big thing right now, whether it's fasting or caloric restriction or intermittent fasting, or more specifically or more accurately worded as time restricted eating. So for people that want to lose weight, as an example, they can go into starvation fasting or caloric restriction, which, another non-scientific term, it sucks to do that because it's very uncomfortable to have hunger, want to eat, and not be able to. And if you're between 700 and 900 calories a day, you are depriving your body of nutrients. And very quickly, your body goes into a nutrient deficient state, which, interestingly enough, this is Dr. Oshumi in 2016 won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for this discovery I'm about to share with you. So Dr. Oshumi in 2016 discovered what is called autophagy, or he was recognized for studying, given the Nobel Prize in Medicine for this. Autophagy is when the body is in nutrient deficiency, and as a result, the body goes into breaking down. Autophagy means eat thyself. So when the cells are not getting nutrition because you're depriving yourself of it, what doesn't go in your mouth doesn't go into your cells. So if you're deficient in nutrients, your body will find a way. And it will start breaking down cells, some whole cells, some cellular debris, this process of autophagy, to make the nutrients that you're not taking in. It's a wonderful pathway, but it's adaptive. You can do the same thing with fasting. You can do the same thing with time-restricted eating, where you only eat, say, from noon to 6 p.m., that 6-hour window, eat whatever you want, which, by the way, is much better than 700 to 900 calories a day, which sucks like crazy. At least you're just like, okay, I can't wait, but I'm going to be able to eat in 4 hours, and I'm going to eat whatever I want and as much of it. Eat in a 6-hour window, because during those other 18 hours you're not eating, your body goes into fasting. Same thing. This nutrient deficiency breaks down these calories, breaks down cells and partial cells to create calories for your body to utilize as fuel. It is wonderful. And what facilitates that whole thing, and what the key player in that, is NAD. NAD expresses itself significantly when your body is in autophagy, but it's in autophagy because you're not giving it nutrients. Well, while fasting is great, intermittent fasting is great, time-restricted eating is great, caloric restriction is great to lose weight, but sucks as a way of life, we have figured out the pathway of NAD. So it's kind of like, it's analogous to a thermostat. Or say, like, we're in Phoenix, Arizona. We have a cooling trend today. It was only 91. But we have our air conditioners on 24/7. So if we all, and Marcy and I know this, but everybody who has a air conditioner understands what a thermostat is. You set the temperature, and when the internal temperature of the room gets to that temperature, the air conditioner comes on and cools it back down. That's a thermostat. That's the internal mechanism that's like fasting inside our body. That's like caloric restriction. When it triggers the mechanism, autophagy turns on. But we figured out a way to not have to increase the internal temperature of the room. We just go over and click on the NAD switch. That's what Protandim NAD Synergizer is. So whether you're caloric restricting, whether you're intermittent fasting or time restricted eating, or you just want to live healthier, just kick in the NAD mechanism. That's what Protandim NAD Synergizer does, and creates this internal autophagy situation, which is maximizing cellular efficiency without having to deprive yourself of calories or food to make it happen. It's a double dip into this amazing pathway, and something that people understand fasting and NAD. They don't necessarily understand that you can just walk over and turn the switch on. That's what Protandim NAD Synergizer does.
Wow. That's amazing. And, you know, and of course we understand that we're not telling people that just popping a pill is going to be a magic solution to any problem that they have, right? But it's in conjunction with making good decisions and having, you know, an intake of healthy food and getting your body moving. And this just gives your body the optimal chance, right? And it's best wellness. I love that so much. So as a
Yes.
chiropractor, why did you choose to build a LifeVantage business?
It was a multifaceted equation. The first one is that I was under the torment, is probably the best word, of knowing my children are growing up without a dad. And when my daughter was born in January of 2009, my father passed away in April of 2009. And so when my daughter was 3 months old, and right before my father passed away, he asked my brother and I to never do whatever we can to never find ourselves in his situation, where he's looking at his adult children and apologizing for not being a part of their life when they were growing up and needed him. Because my father was an entrepreneur. My father was a wonderful provider for our family financially, but we never saw dad. He was always working. And he realized at the end of his life, as esophageal cancer was taking his life, is that he couldn't rectify that. And so he made my brother and I promise him that we would never find ourselves in that situation. And what my dad didn't know is I was already in that situation. I was already living that situation. And my daughter was 3 months old and my son was 3 years old. And so I made the promise to my dad. 2 years later, he passed, and took with him the ability to look him in the eye and say, I kept the promise. So I had this burden on me to be a dad, influence my children by being in their presence, not just providing them financially. And this gave me the opportunity to do that. And so my passion is to educate people and empower people. But my passion was also my children. Most people have to choose between their family or what they're passionate about. And a lot of people don't have the ability to do both. As network marketing entrepreneurs, we do. And it has to meet our criteria. This met my criteria, and I wanted to be a dad to my kids. And this opportunity with LifeVantage, with these products, allowed me to be in my wheelhouse, bring my passion to what I already had to just a different discussion, these products versus my practice, do it from home while I'm observing my children growing up and being involved in their life on an active basis, on an everyday basis. And that's what this has provided for me. But the other most important criteria is that I didn't have to sell my soul. I didn't have to sell out my morals and my principles. It was already I already embraced them, and they were perfectly congruent. But it gave me the ability, and this is weird answering the question that you just asked me as my wife, because you're part of this equation. It allowed me to not only meet my criteria as far as being a father to my children, it allowed me to do it from home, and it allowed me to do it in a loving environment where most people, they can make lots of money, but the people that they're missing are not really, they don't have a chance to love them as much as they could when they were there. Or if they're home all the time and they don't have the quality of life that they could because they're financially stressed because the person is not making as much money, sometimes love isn't optimized. And so when you can have all of these things, and you and I met through this, blended our families and are doing it together, that's great. And then for me, it has to be rooted in something that is honored elsewhere. Meaning, you don't have to be the ultimate authority in any of this. This is rooted in what people are already doing. And it's rooted in what people, not just in LifeVantage, are doing. What thought leaders, what prominent doctors and researchers of this time, modern time, are doing outside, using the very same pathways that we use. They just don't know we're doing it. And it gives us this incredible opportunity to just ride this wave until the world knows about what we're doing and discovers that we've been doing it for a long time. And it turns from looking outward to looking inward at us and going, oh my gosh, that company's been doing this for a long time. We need to partner with them. And that really is on the horizon. It's coming closer, and it's getting closer and closer every day with that reality.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely wonderful that you were not only able to keep your promise to your father, but you were also able to remove one of the limits that you had on yourself as a doctor in practice, is that now you can actually be educating doctor to the world, right? Because now your reach is global instead of just for the people that were able to come into your practice. So I think that that is such a powerful thing as well. So what do you believe is the future of LifeVantage in the world?
I would say that it's something I believe, but I'm not alone. And this is interesting. I have a very interesting part of my story is that I grew up in Northern California. I grew up in the Silicon Valley and I'll be 55 next month. So I was around before .com and I'm around after .com, but I watched the impact that this place that I was born in Northern California, Sunnyvale, California is my hometown. When I was born there, the world didn't really even know what that part of the world was until the likes of Apple and Google and Facebook and IBM and all of these companies that were responsible for the .com movement that took the eyes of the world to this obscure place in the San Francisco Bay Area, and everything focused on it because that was the hub of technology starting 30 years ago. Well, it's round two. And interestingly enough, the exact same location, the Silicon Valley. And what happened was all these people, these .com millionaires that made their millions and their .com, they are rapidly becoming an aging population. And they're taking their millions of dollars and they're investing it in research that is helping their bodies express themselves in a non-pharmaceutical way. And this is so critically important, Marcy's, because in this geographic location, the Silicon Valley of Northern California, there's this massive, massive movement. It's where biohacking started. And so when you see these people, and I'm going to mention a couple names that maybe people are aware of, maybe they're not, but Google, the company Google, the parent company is called Alphabet. And the parent company of Google, Alphabet, in a collaborative effort with some executives of Apple and some executives of Genentech Corporation, partnered together to create this entity called Calico Labs. And Calico Labs is studying pharmacogenomics. In other words, how pharmaceuticals intervene into the human genetics and how they optimize it. Well, to date, they've spent over $1 billion in this effort. But at the same time, there's this other movement in the same area of nutrigenomics, where guys like this book, Dave Asprey, he's the guy who started Bulletproof 360. He's the guy who coined the term biohacking in the Silicon Valley. He's a .com millionaire, and he's putting massive amounts of money into his lab called Up Level Labs, but from a nutrigenomic standpoint, a natural pathway. So in the same area, we've got a pharmaceutical pathway being developed and a nutraceutical pathway being developed to the same end location, influencing our DNA. I love one and I'm cautious about the other. I love the natural approach because that's my background. But then we have people that are outside of that, from other, like this guy who wrote a book called Lifespan, interestingly enough, probably Dr. David Sinclair, probably the world's authority on what? NAD. Out of Australia, born and raised in Australia, moved to the US, is a professor at MIT, a professor at Harvard, discovered this pathway or started looking into this pathway. And when we've got that kind of a movement and we've got the Silicon Valley movement all at the same time, they're using language, Marcy, like nutrigenomics, biohacking, Nrf2, Nrf1, NAD. It's like, are these guys talking about Protandim? Are they talking about our family? Are they talking about LifeVantage? No. They don't even know who we are. They're talking about biohacking, and they're talking about the pathway to human significance and allowing us to live healthy longevity are the things that they're talking about. It's mind-blowing to the world because, and doing it without side effects and without addictive properties and without having to go take another drug for the side effects of that one. It's embracing the human physiology, and it's happening outside of our company in the most influential area of the world right now in the biotech space, the Silicon Valley of Northern California. In fact, you know this, Marcy, and I'm going to share with everyone else. I went out there to visit my mom, who still lives there, in October of last year. From the airport to my mom's house, on the freeway, I saw six companies that had either on the side of their buildings had either genomics or genetics in their name. None of those were there when I lived there. And I moved out of there to Arizona in 2003. This is recent. This is in the last 15 years, but it's exploding. And it's genomics, when we're talking about nutrigenomics and genomics in general, when we're putting thought leaders and .com millionaires, let them spend their money. Because when they discover what we already know to be true, they're going to go, oh my gosh, this company LifeVantage has been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. We've already got products to market, and they're trying to develop products. We've got such a head start, because this is my dream. When Google and their entity Calico Labs comes out with a product, it's going to draw attention to us because we already have a product. And when Up Level Labs and Dave Asprey and all of his investors, when they develop a product, it's going to wow people because they're popular people. But then they're going to discover that, hey, we've already had products just like that for a lot longer, and they're scientifically validated. And we've got years and years and years of testimonials of people taking it. It's going to go for LifeVantage. We're going to explode and talk about stock value. And I'm not making any claims, and I'm not giving any stock advice. That is not my gig. I'm saying what I can see happening with my own, where I was born and raised, and what I see happening in the world. And when I read books like Headstrong, and I read books like Lifespan by these experts that have nothing to do with us, it makes me geeked out of my mind, excited, because I know what's coming. Mm-hmm. So your question was, what do I believe? It's what I know. It's just a matter of time before the world believes what we believe here. And that's what makes me super excited.
It's amazing, because seriously, in what you said, they're looking for it. They are for what we have. That's so amazing. So we have gone way over time. So I want to make sure that we get this last question in here. And that is basically just, what are your closing words on LifeVantage? Is there anything else that you would like to share with anyone that's with us now watching, or that will be watching this in the future?
We're at a very pivotal moment in history, Marcy, and we're literally at the comparison of, is the world flat the way we've believed it for centuries, or is the world round based on discovery and new exposure and understanding new principles? Is candles the best way to illuminate a room, or is this thing called electricity that we don't really know much about, is it a real thing, and is it going to be around? Well, we obviously know that electricity is here, and we use candles when we want the room to smell well, but we don't have to use them, especially here in Arizona when it's 100 degrees outside. Nobody's going to light a candle. We don't need them anymore to light a room because we have electricity. We don't have very many people that think that are the flat earth people, because we've circumnavigated the world. We've taken pictures of the earth from the moon, and we know it's round. And so it's just a matter of, do we believe in the fact that the human body is flawed and we need to go to our doctors and get a prescription to make it work right? Or do we just honor the fact that, no, it is amazing the way it is. We just need to figure out how to optimize it the way it is. And when it starts to decline in the way it is, turn it back on to give it the efficiency of the way it was to the way it can be again, without prescriptions and the side effects and all the things that come with that. That is happening right now. And I just want people to stick it out, because people criticized the people that were thinking the earth is round. They got a lot of criticism from the flatlanders. And the people that were talking about electricity got a lot of criticism and feedback, and you're a charlatan. You're going to be lynched and burned at the stake because you're believing in this thing we can't even see or quantify. I can see flame, I can see a candle, but we can't see that electricity thing. People don't believe what they can't see or they haven't yet experienced. The same thing exists here with our products and even our business model. And so for people, I would just tell them, be patient, learn what we're doing. Give everybody the respect for having their opinion if it's contrary to what you think or what you've heard. Give them the love and respect, but do your own research. Keep diving in. Dig your feet in, because it's coming. Because you can't turn away what's already happening. With nobody, I mean, if I were to say now the earth is flat and I'm going to use a candle to light my room, I would be laughed out of the, I would be laughed at. It's the same thing that's going to be happening 5-10 years from now about nutrigenomics discussions, about network marketing, and whether it's a real business entity or some pyramid scheme, and whether or not our products are snake oil or they're legit. The people that I trust and the people that are some pretty amazing, smart people already know the truth, which is what has helped me understand the truth. And I just want to give people the ability to stick it out. Ask questions. Don't ever become not curious. ask questions, but be open to learning and changing your viewpoint based on what people know, and read other things. Read books like Lifespan, read books like Headstrong, read books like Superhuman. And then you'll understand an outside principle. And there's something pretty amazing when you're hearing about, when we listen to the audiobook, when we're listening to mitochondria and Nrf2 pathways and Nrf1 pathway, we're looking at each other going, that's what the language we speak. But when somebody else completely separate from our company is speaking the same language, it gives us camaraderie. It makes us feel better. That is coming on a grand scale. And I just want people to be patient, learn what we have. Don't let people who are critical influence you in a negative way, and just be patient and learn and trust the people that we're working with, know what they're doing, and we can do this as a company, and we can do it together, because it's going to happen. People get to decide whether they're a part of it or they get to watch it go by and then regret it later, because that's all happening right now.
Wow. Wow, 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 exclamation point. Well, thank you so much for being the good doctor in helping to educate everyone today on how truly flipping the switch can help us all feel better and be able to do more in our lives. So thank you, Dr. Dondee Nettles, for being my special guest tonight. I appreciate you.
Woo-hoo. It was my absolute honor. Sorry for being late.
It's all
Thanks,
good.
Marcy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.